Washington.
This your boy, Martin for here once again.
Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is your boy Jamar44 here once again, and we are going to be discussing this week's episode of Insecure, Low-Key Distance. Firstly, I want to thank you guys so much for supporting all of the videos that I've been uploading up until this point through Drag Race, the animated horror stories, which a new one will be coming. I know many of you have asked for that, and the Insecure videos. So I'm really appreciative. So let's go ahead and kick off this episode for Insecure, Low-Key Distant now. So the episode starts off with Molly and Andrew on a date. You know, they're walking out to the valet or the car or whatever driving service that they have. And, you know, they're bantering back and forth, having a little kiki, just there and forth. And, you know, Andrew gets a call on his phone and, you know, it's kind of very mysterious. You know, Molly kind of tries to inquire, like, are you okay? Like, you know, is everything going good? And he just kind of brushes it off and refers back to, you know, their date, and they try to, you know, switch the subject. So then they move to the next scene and they are banging it out. And I'm like, let me tell y'all, it be feeling like the people on Insecure, even when they be supposedly having like bad sex or whatever, they should be looking high. Like, they should be looking like it be hidden. But be that as it may, you know, up until this point, it looks like, you know, Andrew and Molly are back on a great path. Let's see where it goes. Next thing we get is Issa and Condola. They're walking on the street. You know, Issa saying, you know, where things are going to be put for this whole big block party that she's been trying to put together. And, you know, they have a really great working relationship. You know, Condola's really agreeing with Issa's ideas of placement. And, you know, they start talking, and you're like, so, like, what are you going to be up to? Like, you have any weekend plans or things like this? And she's like, oh, you know, I'm going to this place. I forget the name of it. She was like, oh, yeah, that's really romantic. She's like, oh, shit, that's romantic. Oh, I get it. So that means that you're actually going there with Lawrence. And they have this really awkward silence. And, you know, Issa just kind of just breaks the silence like, look, I don't want this to be weird. I really don't want this to be weird. I want us to have a great relationship, a working relationship. You seem to be really nice. And, you know, Condola's like, yeah, sure, you know, that's totally, like, right up my alley. I agree as well. And they were able to make jokes about Lawrence liking mayonnaise on his fries. And I'm like, you know what? I think that's a really great idea, because let's address the elephant in the room. Let's try to be able to move past it as women, because we don't want it to interfere with our working relationship and our budding friendship. So I think just us talking about it, making a joke about it, making it sure that the other person isn't feeling some type of way is a great idea. So it looks like Tiffany is having some sort of Halloween party. She's dressed as like Cleopatra. I think Molly's dressed as like a cheerleader. Kelly's dressed as one of the girls from Baps, it looks like. I could be wrong. I don't think I am, but I could be wrong. But they get there, and, you know, Molly starts to open up like, you know, me and, you know, Andrew, like, he has good dick. He has really good dick. We have great sex, but I want something more. You know, we're not connecting. I've told him like all these things about her having to wear a helmet when she went to bed since he was 11 or something like that. Like something really personal. And he hasn't really opened up much at all. And she's kind of feeling like, I don't see, you know, why the conversations have to feel so one-sided. I feel like I'm just giving him all of this stuff. And yes, he gives me good dick, but like, what else do I get outside of the good dick? And why Kelly, I swear to God, Kelly is what makes this show, like, she holds this show together in deep moments. Two characters could really be having the most sincere, deep moment, and this bitch will literally come out of nowhere and be like, you know what, I don't need to know his feelings. Nobody want to sit around and listen to a man talk about his feelings. He said, give me a mind with a big dick and I'll be happy. He's like, well, I should go to the circus. I hate Kelly's character. Now, if this next scene does not show you how real Insecure is, almost to a point where it's almost too real, Issa and Airport Bay are banging it out. Like, she is literally back bend over the bed, and he is just, you know, pushing, giving, you know, doing what you're supposed to do. And apparently it seems like Issa's into it. Like, she's giving it, her body language is exuding like she's into it. And, you know, he puts her back on the bed. They back into a missionary, you know, And I'm like, okay, everything so far seems normal. This man asked Issa to push the booty button. I kid y'all not, I had to pause. I said, nah, bitch, wait. Wait a minute, bitch. Did you really... The booty button, bitch? Now, they didn't show it particularly, Issa, did you finger this man in his ass? Is that the booty button? Lord. But, this opens up conversation because a lot of straight men, especially in the heterosexual community, do not want to admit that they can gain pleasure from that area. And a lot of women are not, keen on partaking in that because then they feel like their man is gay. Like, it's this whole thing. But I just was like, wow. Wow, that was too, and then you could tell, if it didn't even end there, you could tell that she was kind of like uncomfortable. I felt like she was reaching for the towel so she could wash off her hand. And like, as soon as she was doing that, why did it seem like the guy was like, uh-oh, the condom was on and that was not. And in any sexual encounter between a man and a woman and there was a condom and now there is not, there's that scare of, did we just have unprotected sex? Am I pregnant? There's always that scare. And then, so they're going around looking for the condom. Child, why did the condom get stuck inside of Issa, child? And she is up in the bathroom, leg up, with the mirror down, trying to figure out where that thing is, digging it out. And it just flops onto the floor. I said, oh, and she's looking in the mirror like, I deserve better than this. I am so disappointed in myself. I love this show. So Condola and Lawrence are meeting up for lunch or dinner or what have you. And, everything's going good. They're having this great banter back and forth. And Lawrence stops to ask the waiter for mayonnaise because he ordered it with his fries. And Condola just starts laughing. He's kind of like, what? Like, what do you think is so funny? And I thought that she was going to keep that to herself, but she just went on to be like, me and Issa talked about how, you like to have mayo on your fries. And then Lawrence is like, oh, you and Issa talking about me. And, Condola was trying to, assure him that it's not about, we're not talking about you, but the subject of you arose. And it's not like we were saying anything bad about you. But just as soon as she said that, like, Lawrence, you could tell his whole energy shifted. And he just kind of shut down, and Condola was like, are you okay? Like, did I make everything uncomfortable? And he was kind of like, no, it's fine. It's cool. No problem. And then it skips right ahead to him talking to his boys like, hell no, I got a problem with that shit. I ain't with it. And my thing is, him and his boys agree, like, as heterosexual men do. They feel like if they can keep their hoes in check and don't have anybody intermingling and doing all this stuff. Here's my take on it. I feel like it shouldn't matter. I mean, it's not uncommon to run into people or for somebody that you date to know somebody else that you dated. As long as they're not bad-mouthing you in a negative way and she's not just saying all this secretive stuff and trying to make you, put you in a negative light, I don't see what the problem is. And I feel like Lawrence's problem or his whole issue is that he feels like they may share something that he may not want her to know yet, I guess. But having to restrict their entire relationship to me seems a little unnecessary. It feels harsh. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes, but that's just my take on it. So Molly is walking up to Issa where they're supposed to meet up and I guess have some sort of lunch, dinner, or what have you. And when she walks up, she noticed that Issa's sitting there with Condola and they're kind of like, hey, what's up? And literally both of them come over to hug her and Molly's kind of like, what's going on here? Like, this is awkward. Who are you? And, she kind of introduces her and blah, blah, blah. And so Condola's like, I could just, I'm about to head on out, I don't want to interrupt. And she's like, no, stay, come on. We want to go talk about anything else than what you and I were talking about. And you could tell that Molly was kind of like, well, she did kind of say she wanted to leave. And Issa's like, no, girl, it's perfectly fine. And so Condola's like, okay, well, let me just run to the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back. And then Molly was kind of like, so I thought it was going to be just you and I. Like, what's the tea? And, Issa could tell that she was actually, like, legitimately bothered. She's like, do you want me to tell her to leave? She's like, no, it's fine. We'll just talk later. And then that whole awkward encounter where they picked up the menus and they're trying to order dessert. And Molly tried to pick up the menu first and then Condola just snatched it up and started looking. And then when Molly tried to take the menu from her so she could look, she's like, Issa was like, I already know what I want. Here's, you can have my menu. And Molly was like, are you serious? Like, who is this bitch? I felt like Molly felt threatened. I felt like Molly felt like she is sort of coming into the spot where she's the person that Issa's confiding in, and she's playing that role of that best friend, and so I feel like that seed is being planted. So Molly gives Andrew another shot. Like she's been thinking about, you know, what she talked about the girls and about him not opening up. So she's at her apartment cooking dinner, and he comes over, and you know, of course he's, you know, laying his charm on, you know, trying to lay it on real thick or whatever. And, you know, they're flirting and whatnot, and they're sitting down at the dinner table, and it looks like they're walking through like family photos, you know, talking about family members and old pictures. And Molly tries to inquire about, you know, some of his siblings, and Andrew says something about he doesn't know where his sister is, or his sister and him don't really have like a really close relationship, and she starts to slowly pry as to why. And he's kind of like, you know, I don't really want to get into that right now. And she tries to assure him, like, you know, you can share anything with me. You can, you know, confide, you know, all that information in me. It's a safe place. And he's just kind of like, you know, it's not too late. We can still go back to that show that I was going to tell you about. And so Molly's kind of like over it. She's like, I'm trying to have a moment with you and get to know you better, and you're keep trying to pull us away from an intimate moment to go to some show, and it's kind of pissing her off. And honestly, I kind of would feel the same way, especially if I'm trying to get to know you and you're just trying to take us to these public places where we can't really connect. So she voices those frustrations, and he kind of takes it in a bad way, just kind of like, wow, like you make everything a problem. And he storms off, and now she's kind of like pissed, like, wow, like I tried to open up to this dude and here she goes like brushing me off like this. Like, who the fuck does he think he is? So now she's sitting at home with her wine, no man, and she tries to call up Issa to try to express her feelings like she normally would. But Issa's at this concert, and she texts her back like, I'm at this concert, let me call you when I leave. And I could tell just based off her body language that Molly felt like somewhat of a sense of abandonment to me, as if like, you know, I already tried to talk to my friend before, and she had this new girl here that I don't really know that well, and I don't really want to, you know, talk about certain things with her since I don't really know her, and I'm trying to call my friend again, and she's not there for me when I need her. Even though it's not necessarily Issa's fault, I could tell that that seed of resentment and low-key distance, the name of the episode, is being planted within Molly. And I feel like that's came to fruition more so in this episode, or at the peak in this episode, when they're at their hike, and you know, Issa's telling her about all these great things that she's getting for her block party, and you know, how she can invite Andrew. And she kind of talks about, you know, me and Andrew had like a little bit of a thing at my house, things went left, and I don't really know what's going on with him. And so while they're talking, Andrew actually calls, and so Molly kind of steps away, and instead of kind of confronting her, he apologizes. He says, look, I'm sorry for last night, and I know that I kind of came off a little abrasive, and I just wanted to let you know it's not you, it's just that I don't normally open up to people that way, and it's just gonna take me some time to kind of open up to you in that way. And she's like, you know, I have time. You know, she assures him, like, I understand that you want to take things slow, and I'm willing to take things slow as well. And you know, I could tell that she felt happy, she felt reassured in that relationship. But what's strange is that when Issa kind of asked, like, you know, is everything okay, like who was the call about, I'm curious to know like why she said it was always like a work thing, and she didn't want to express to Issa that this guy just apologized. I'm like, you were just telling him, or you were just telling her about him moments ago, but now that he's apologized, you choosing to withhold that information? I wasn't really sure why. That felt very strange, but I feel like these are the seeds being planted within Molly and Issa's relationship, where Molly feels that distance, or she feels not as trustful within Issa as she did before. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Again, thank you guys so much for supporting these reviews and everything on my channel that we've done thus far. If you want to follow me on social media, everything will be in the link description below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys.
Like, share, subscribe.
Jamar,
Washington.